Welcome to another episode of Top Shelf Creator. In today's episode, I talk to you about how to cultivate a community of buyers instead of just a community of followers, and how to create a sustainable creator business that will make you money so that you can jump from your 9 to 5 into a full-time creator position. So stay tuned.
Hi, I'm Kabrina Budwell, and you are about to experience the best way to create a thriving creator business online from other creators just like you, who are making a full-time living doing what they love. We are here to help you create a sustainable business that helps you more than survive, but thrive. Get ready, because this is the first creator podcast to give you clarity, strategy, and tactical solutions to position yourself in the market, create systems that convert, and harness your influence to scale your community. Welcome to the Top Shelf Creator Podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Top Shelf Creator. Today we're going to be talking about commitment, or really, how are we showing up? This episode is actually an inspiration of a LinkedIn post that I saw that kind of goes around the idea of this quiet quitting, which we've talked about in the newsletter in the past. If you're not familiar with what quiet quitting is the idea that you come to work, you do what you're supposed to do, and you go home. So a lot of people will refer to this as acting your wage, which I think is actually very valuable for us as creators to know, especially because not all of us are doing this full time. This is something that many of the people listening and a lot of the people that I know and that our agency helps are also in a 9 to 5 of some sort. So understanding what these terms mean is really important because they're coming up from the people that you're going to be helping in whatever kind of business that you run. And one of the things that somebody said was, instead of quiet quitting, people should be quiet committing. And it took me back for a second because of the one thing that came to mind as soon as they said it is commitment isn't quiet. And if you are committed but you're quiet, you're probably not going anywhere. Let that sink in for a second. If you're committed to something and you're quiet, you're probably not going anywhere. So how do we as creators put in commitment, stay committed to the dream and that fire that's inside of us, while still showing up like we need to in order to move the needle, not just to show up to show up? So many times, we're just showing up to show up. We see so-and-so on social media. We see they tried this strategy. That guru's telling us this strategy. We're supposed to be doing X, Y, and Z and following these steps and checking these boxes. And we're still not moving the needle forward. And this happens more than it doesn't. I mean, I will be the first person to say that I've definitely shown up on social media every day. I've done these specific things. I've followed different gurus and didn't see anything happen. The thing about commitment is that with commitment, you're stepping into your power. You are stepping in to the person that you need to be, the person that you are called to be, and that passion, that fire that people are attracted to. I mean, think about that for a second. We think about a bonfire. We think about maybe it's on the beach, because that's where I like to live in my brain, is on the beach. And just imagine for a second a bonfire. And you see a couple people around it, and then more people gather around it because they're attracted to the flame. They're attracted to the heat that it gives off. It becomes like a magnet to pull in the right people. Of course, there's going to be people that walk by and they're like, this is not for me. I wasn't invited to this party. But then there's going to be other people that come together with you. You are the person who started the bonfire. The bonfire is your passion. It's your message. It's the thing that you are getting out into the world that people need to hear. So if we come at our business like that, what is that bonfire that you're creating? What's the message that your people need to hear? Because if you start there, this is where attraction marketing comes in. People are going to be attracted to your message. And they're going to come and they're going to stand around that fire with you. And that's when you're going to get to share those things. So how are we attracting those people in? I see a lot of people doing things, especially on TikTok, where they will start with something that has nothing to do with the real message that they want, because they think that that's what people want. And then they get a ton of followers. We see it on Instagram as well. And you get all these followers that really aren't there for what you actually want to bring to the table. They aren't the right customers for you. And when we're reaching out to the wrong people, we are not building the community that we want, that one is going to support us and two is going to buy from us. And that is one of the most important things of being a creator who also is a business owner. And I think that that's something that we need to really talk about, is what does being a business owner and a creator look like, and pairing those together so that we can create businesses that are sustainable, that are able to grow, that are able to help people in all kinds of ways, whether that's you helping the people that are in your business as clients and customers, but also think about as you grow, you're going to be hiring on people. And when you hire on those people, you're helping them too. So this episode is all going to be about ways that we can show commitment and show up. And how do we do that? And we're going to talk about a couple of different things, social media being one of them, speaking, podcast on real stages, what does that look like? But then also just showing up for yourself. And we'll get into what does that look like later on in the episode. But when it comes to social media, there's so many different places you can be. There's going to be some people that tell you that you need to have a place everywhere. You need to be putting things out there everywhere. And especially if you're new to the creator space or you're feeling overwhelmed by all of the things that you have to do, I want you to find one place that you enjoy showing up. Because if you enjoy showing up there, you're going to show up there. And for me, that's TikTok. And we'll go into later episodes of how I take that content and I splice it up into a bazillion different things. And you'll see this podcast spliced up into a bazillion different things as well. But finding that one place that you like to show up and always showing up there. And this could be, if there's lots of different people talking about what works on TikTok, what doesn't work on TikTok, what works on Instagram, what doesn't work on Instagram. And you need to find what's your rhythm, because you are training the people that follow you to know when you're going to show up. Think about this with your best friend, your mom, somebody that you call on a regular, consistent basis. They count on you to call them or touch base with them that amount of time in between. So my best friend and I, we touch base every single day. Even if that means that we just have a phone call, there's just a text exchange, there is some kind of togetherness that we feel that we touch base every day. One, because both of us as business owners, we just need to know that there's somebody in our corner on the good days and the bad days. Your people are the same way. They just want to know that you're going to actually show up. Because think about how many people that you've followed, that you've come across, that you've said, hey, this person's really cool, and they show up for a while. Maybe they show up every day for a while, and then all of a sudden they start to fall off. Don't start with every day. There'll be a point in your career, in your business, where you'll have so much content that showing up every day is not an issue if you want to do that. But showing up once a week is a great place to start. I'm going to create a post to where I'm showing up once a week. One of the things that I have conversations with clients as well as some of my business friends about is batching and scheduling content, because it's a lot easier to show up consistently when you can schedule it out, because life happens. There's extra client work that comes up. You have to go do something with your family in some capacity. And having things scheduled ahead of time emails, social media posts, what you're going to say on any given moment is important. Even these episodes that we put together for you are pre-scripted. We're not writing out every word we're going to say, but we're giving the bullet points to ourselves so that when we're actually in an interview with somebody or we're having a solo podcast like this one, we have some check boxes to hit so that we're making sure, one, that we're giving you the best content possible, but two, it's calming any nerves that are there for myself, for the guest, for you guys, that you're getting a consistent idea of what we're talking about so that we're not all over the place talking about things. And this gets easier the longer that you're in business. The longer you're in business, the more you're talking about the same things over and over again. You're not going to have as much notes as somebody who's just starting. So don't get discouraged if it's taking you a little bit longer. Do things like putting it in voice notes, writing things down as inspiration strikes. If you haven't listened to Mike Brennan's episode of capturing that inspiration when it's there, definitely go and take a listen to that. But it's finding those moments where you can have that inspiration. Pop it in a notebook, pop it somewhere. I keep a drawing pad with me all the time. If you're watching the video, you can see that I just literally have a drawing pad and it just sits next to my desk, and there's dozens and dozens and dozens of colorful notes in here because I want to be able to write stuff down as I'm having those thought processes, as I'm creating in my brain, or somebody will say something, I'll see something. This episode in and of itself is an example of that, of coming out of just one small LinkedIn post that I happen to see. There's lots of these moments of inspiration. Inspiration is not sporadic if you are looking for it. And as a creator, you are going to have to do what many visual artists already know is great artists steal. That doesn't mean that you're going to be taking somebody's information verbatim, word for word. It does mean that you're going to be taking inspiration from other pieces. Because as we connect things in and of itself, we're creating a space for people to actually have all of these other realizations of, oh, this came from here and this came from here. And then it becomes more important to them because it's connected to other things. So thinking about, what does that inspiration look like for you? What are you interested in? What shows are you watching that you could connect back to your business? What ideals do you have? What values do you have that could bring people around that bonfire? Because these things, we're trying to separate business and personal life, but these things are what draw people to us. If I'm just going to sit here and teach you things all day long, those are great. You might be able to use those in your business, but you're going to be bored out of your mind by just learning things over and over and over and over again. I could talk to you nerdily about email marketing and the algorithm and social media all day long. But you're going to be totally glazed over because we don't have a relationship. If that's all you know about me, we have no relationship. But if I told you that this is how my life relates to a romance novel, or to The Office, or to one of my favorite shows, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist, if you've seen any of those things or have any connections with those, you're like, oh, hey, we might just break out in random song like it's a musical, because I grew up with High School Musical. And some of you might be going, oh my gosh, this is crazy and not something that's for me. And that's okay, because this is how you find out who your people are. This is how you have that attraction marketing to attract the people that you actually want to work with. We're all sitting here looking for these dream clients and not realizing that we're pushing the dream clients away because we're not connecting with them. And part of that connection is the consistency, is the showing up, is them knowing when to find you and where to find you. And where to find you isn't everywhere. Last time I checked, I'm here. I am in this moment right now. I can't be in a minute from now until a minute has passed. And the same thing needs to be thought of with social media. Yes, we can schedule things everywhere, but the thought of trying to be everywhere at once is what burns out most creators that I know. They come to me and they're like, oh my goodness, just social media by itself is a full-time job. So how do we as creators use social media, utilize it in a way that is sustainable for us, but then also fun? Because if it's not fun, we're not going to keep doing it. One of these ways is picking just one platform. The second way is batching everything and then scheduling it with some kind of app. We personally in our agency use Postly, which you can find links for in the show notes, but there's lots of great ones out there. Hello Woofy, tons of them. There's so many that I can't even think of all the ones that are out there. Hootsuite is another one. Buffer is another one. There's so many platforms out there that can do this for you, and I will list several of them for you. Go check them out. Try a free trial. See which one is the best for you. Because some people like one style, some people like others. Figure out, where do I need to be posting? Do I need something that can post to Reels automatically for me? Do I need something that will send me a notification to post to TikTok? Do I want to be able to use different apps that maybe aren't social media, but one step out of that? Thinking about the strategy as a whole instead of, well, all my friends are using Instagram. All my friends are using LinkedIn. Where are those ideal people? Where are the people that you want to attract? Where are they hanging out? That's the question that you need to be asking yourself. Of, if I'm going to meet these ideal people, where are my ideal people? If I want to meet business people, I'm probably not just going to go hang out at a theme park or a bar. I'm going to go to a networking event. If I want to go and meet people who like to dance, I'm not going to just go to the grocery store. I'm going to go somewhere where they meet up and they learn how to do things together. These are very obvious things, and we see this in the dating world. We see people complaining, I can't meet any of the right people. But you're not going to the places where the people that you want to meet are. It's the exact same thing in your business. How are you showing up in the same places that the people that you want to meet are showing up? And it seems so simple, but so many of us are not doing that. We're not showing up where our people are, and then we can't figure out why we can't find them anywhere. So for social, we know finding the platform that brings you joy. And then showing up consistently where people know where you're going to be and when you're going to be there. Batching that content. And the third way is going ahead and outsourcing this to somebody else. This is going to be something that not all of you can do right now, but I highly, highly, highly suggest at some point outsourcing your social media. You can still be the driver of it. You can still give the ideas. You can still create the content. But if you didn't have to post, you didn't have to worry about the algorithm, you didn't have to think about what hashtags you need to use, how much brain space and time would that make for you to create content that you love? Content that connects in a heart and emotional level with your ideal people. If you were able to hand that off to somebody who was already an expert in that, who did that full time, who understood what the latest random thing is, because Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn, they all change their algorithm constantly just to keep you on your toes. How much brain space would you have open for that? What could you get done if that was not on your plate? And I want you to really think about that. And for those of you who are not in a place where you can do that yet, I want you to start time tracking. Even if you just, for 2 weeks, time track what you're doing. Because it's going to make your life so much easier when you are able to hire somebody on of, here's all the things that I don't want on my plate. Here's all the things that I need to offload to somebody else. And it gives you the opportunity to start creating the processes that you need in order to hand those things off to that person. It's going to make your job a lot easier when you hire. It's going to make their job a lot easier. And then it makes it a lot easier to troubleshoot when things go wrong or when things aren't exactly like you want them to be. So now that we've taken care of social media, I want us to think about how are we getting in front of people? Because there's ideally 3 things that we need in our business. We need traffic, we need leads, and we need customers. And if you watch some of these other big gurus out there, you'll hear some people talk about this as TLC, traffic, leads, and customers. And if we're getting the traffic, we've got our social media running, maybe we're running some ads, we write a blog post, we're doing those things that's getting traffic. Now we need to focus on the leads. And one of those ways to get traffic and leads very quickly is showing up on podcasts, guesting on podcasts like this, showing up on live stages, being a part of a summit. We saw a lot of this. We saw this industry actually grow during the pandemic, which was amazing because I've been coaching speakers for years. And I know I was coaching at an event when President Trump was talking about the pandemic as the world was shutting down. And I remember watching people in that room who were learning how to speak on stages, just downcast, because we had worked on all of these things. And all of a sudden, the world was being shut down. And we couldn't figure out what was the next thing. But the beauty of that is because you, as an entrepreneur, as a creator, have signed up to be a professional problem solver. And in that, these professional problem solvers were like, oh, well, we've already all been doing podcasts. So why don't we start being on each other's podcasts? And, there are these things called summits that I've seen a few people do. Why don't we create a summit? And it was to a point where I was actually speaking more during the pandemic than I did before the pandemic because it was easier to get places because it was just your office, your bedroom, wherever you had an internet connection, you could be doing something. It was also super fast to get people on. Even running this podcast, I've been able to reach out to people and the next day have them scheduled because I'm like, hey, I saw you on TikTok. It's just like the song, hey, I just met you. And it's a bit amazing to see the kind of caliber of people I've been able to pull on that I wouldn't be able to do if this was a live event. This is something that you get to see every week. You get to listen every week and see snippets of, which is really important because now that we're doing this creates content for you. So if you're getting onto podcasts, let's say you don't have your own podcast, you don't have any desire to do that, get on other people's podcasts. Ask for the raw footage. See if they're going to give you snippets so that you can promote. Because then that becomes your content to share your genius with the world. And then, hey, by getting these leads, by getting this content, we're also getting more traffic because we're able to repurpose. So all these things work together in order to create the next thing. And then finally, I want you to think about the idea of blogging. I know it's something that's been on the back burner. It's kind of where all of this online stuff started, but it really is starting to come back. And the reason is because platforms like TikTok are focusing on SEO. We're focusing on long tail keywords, things that can be voice command. So you could say, hey, Google, find X, Y, and Z. And it's going to look for articles based on that long tail keyword. And so blogs are so amazing. Even if you're just taking content like podcast or a video that you've done and transcribing that and making that your blog post, that is a great way to get people into your hemisphere who may want to read more than they do listen. Maybe they're catching a snippet of something. And taking all of these pieces of content and being able to look at it as a full picture and say, okay, cool. Now that I'm looking at this whole map, how can I reuse some of these things? I have a rule of thumb. I do not create anything that I cannot use at least 3 times. These podcasts, for example, they go out as a podcast. They go out as a video on YouTube. They get chopped up and they go out as content on TikTok, Reels, Facebook, all of those things. And I do that, one, because I'm a busy person and I don't want to be tied to my computer all the time. And I have a sneaky suspicion that you probably don't want to be tied to yours all the time either. So think about ways that you can repurpose things. If you're going to be speaking on stage, record it. I've seen so many, even of these big names that we talk about and we see all the time, that's how they really got started, is they would be on the stage, they would record that content, and then they'd go and they'd sell that content as a mini course, as what Courtney Donahue refers to as a pocket product. Those are ways that we're repurposing content in order to get the right people into our hemisphere at our bonfire. You all want to throw a party? Fantastic! I'm so excited for your party. Please send me the invitation. And if you are not consistently showing up, you're not sending people the invitation. Think about if you were throwing a wedding or a really big party. You're going to send a save the date before you send the invitation. Your social media, your consistency, you showing up, is you saying, save the date. I want you in my circle. You're one of the cool people. And that's how you're going to attract the right people into what you want to create and help the people that you want to help. And so we talked about social media. We talked about stages and podcasts. And we talked about blogging. And I'd love to know whether you tag me on social media, Instagram, TikTok, at Top Shelf Creator, or you send us an email at info@topshelfcreator.com and let me know which one you're doing. What are questions that you have around this? How can we as a community here at Top Shelf support you as a creator to bring you what you need? These are the things that are so important to us because, like I've said in the past, we as people, as creators, we rise together. And so I'm inviting you to rise with us. Rise with me. Come together with us. Come have a nice drink with us. And let's figure out how to make it to where all of us win. We've created our own economy. Let's go ahead and make it the best that it can possibly be and create something that we're going to look back on and go, oh my goodness, I'm so glad that I did this. I'm so glad that these people came along the journey with me, because this is no fun if you do it on your own. We're not doing this just to make money. We're not doing this just to make a name for ourselves. We're doing this because at the end of the day, the journey is the important part. And yes, we want to be sustainable. Yes, we want to make money. And yes, we will talk more and more and more about those things. But at the end of the day, I'm inviting you into this community so that you can rise with all of us and that we can all rise together. So thank you for joining us for another episode of Top Shelf Creator. And I can't wait to see you next week.
Thank you for listening to the Top Shelf Creator podcast. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Top Shelf Creator. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we would love to see you share it with a friend and give us a review wherever you listen to help us reach more creators just like you.